This video is to show the NPC animation framework I've built and give you some ideas of how you might, how we might use them in the future. I'm going to go first of all teleport to the stage. That was the room I talked about before where the tutorials are. And the first thing I'm going to do, you've seen the stage before, is I'm going to just go turn up the lights and see stuff. Cave lights, and make sure the cave lights are turned all the way up. And probably make them white, probably the brightest. There you go. Then I'm going to go look at the dancers here. You see, here's, they're dancing. And what you'll notice about this is that I've got 30 NPCs. They're facing each other in dance positions, and I've kind of got them paired up. And they're all dancing different dances here. And I have programmed that. So let's go see what I did to go do that. So, they're just, this is how they default. Now, I'm going to go back here real quick just to show a couple things. And I've got two triggers, and the two triggers are for two different sets of dances. The first trigger here is has them dance like you're seeing right now. They're all doing different dances, so each NPC avatar can be identified to do a different dance. The second one will have them all do the same dance. So if I go over to the second one, so I've triggered something in a program that I'll show you here in a minute that has got them all changing dances, and they're changing the dances to the YMCA dances. If I run out here, you'll see they're all still. Oh, there they go. One just popped in the YMCA dance, and what happens is they have to finish their dance cycle. So as this, there goes one to the YMCA dance, and eventually they've all finished their default dance, and so they're all doing the YMCA dance. And I said before, I'm going to find some way probably down the road to make it so that they time them. See, they're in the same positions too. I didn't change, I didn't rotate them or send them to different locations, which I probably will do for group dances down the road. But right now they're just all doing the way I'm standing in place, but they're all doing the same dance. So I have successfully changed their dance. So let's look at some of the code for that. And also the reason I'm doing this is just to document it for myself is one of the reasons. But the main reason is also give you guys an idea of how you might use it in the future. Because we'll be able to use this not to control dances, but to do storylines and control sets of NPCs and do it with the code so you have the exact, you have whatever level of detail you need to control the story. So here's the program. It's not huge. I went through a lot of effort to figure this out. It took me a week to figure out how to actually do this. But what's going to happen here is I've got, again, go back, if you remember, I've got 30 NPCs. So let's go look at those first. Instead of going to code, let's go look at how that all works here. Where is it? Here we go. So I've got 30 NPCs. And what these NPCs, what you do is, these aren't spawners or anything. What they are is they're using something called the NPC character definition. It's all over here in the NPC folder if you go look at my code. Or if you want to go look at this experience in the shared area, this world, what do we call it, island. And this is called an NPC character definition. And how you get to an NPC character definition is under artificial intelligence. And you add it, you just basically click that to add it. And it adds it to inventory, and then you drag it into here. And then once I drag it into here, I basically duplicated it 30 times. So if I look at any one of these individuals, let's look at this guy. And he is NPC 1. So I named each one of these 30 character definitions I stuck out there, NPC 1 through NPC 30. So that's all 30 of these NPC character definitions, device character definitions called. So you control what they're doing in a couple of different ways. If I look at any individual one, let's look at this one, NPC 1. What can you do with that? Let's move him. I did that wrong. He's out of the box. It'll come, and it'll come with the default character. If I just stuck a new one out there, it'll come with the default character. But you can go ahead and say, I want to add a character definition. You do the plus here. And it'll add a character definition. And you can select different kinds of modifiers. So what you're doing here is you can there's a character modifier and then these other 6 sub modifiers. So basically what this is called inside of Unreal Engine for Fortnite, they call this NPC behavior. So what I'm doing here is establishing an NPC character, and I'm changing its behavior. And you change its behavior one of 2 ways. You can do it with their modifiers. You know what I'm saying? So you can say, I want to change it to, you can change its way it looks, cosmetic. You can change how it navigates, how it moves, and so on, using their default settings, their default modifiers. In addition to that, you can say, hey, to whatever I get out of the box with these, and I'll give you an example here. Let's add one real quick, and I'll delete it. Hopefully, I'll remember to. I want to add a different one, and I could have said, the navigation modifier, and that says, well, what did you do here? And it basically, you can change some, the default characteristics. You can change what it can do. So maybe a different one would be movement modifier. You can change how fast it walks and stuff. So this is if you're using just the default navigation and movement of the given avatar, out of the box avatars. But I'm not going to mess with any of that. All I did is I did this where I decided to use this to select the character. And so what you've done here is basically if you stick an NPC character definition, if I just stick this in here, I can show you. If I just stick this in here, see, it just gives you the default mannequin. So the first thing I did, of course, was I said, hey, put a cosmetic modifier on it and change it. And it allows you to select their large number of predefined characters they've got. So I did. And so I put 30 different character modifiers on my 30 different NPC character definitions that I stuck out there. And so that's what all that is about. In addition to that, and here's what real power is for developers, for a programmer, you can say, hey, in addition to the standard NPC behaviors, I want to go ahead and override them. So I want to go add my own control of that. And you identify a piece of verse code to do that. You say, I want to use NPC dancers. So if I look at, where is that? If I look at that, it's right here. If I open it up, and it opens, of course, in my other window. Well, come on. Here we go. So if I look at him, so basically this is a character definition. I say I want to make them custom versus, you can have guard or wildlife or the out of the box things, but I want to make a custom one. How do I want to control it? And again here this is, how do you want to control the behavior? Verse behavior or empty behavior? And I want a verse behavior. And then you identify, which script you want to use, which I want to use something called MCC dancers, and then there's settings in there. And I could have also at this point, applied the modifiers on this, but since, I'm using instances, this is sort of like, like materials versus material. This is like the materials, but I use instances inside of the game of NPC Dancer to make the changes to. So there we go. So that I've got 30 of these. They're out there. Then what I do is for each one of these, this identifies a verse script, and here's a verse script. That's where I jumped into. It's this baby right here. So I said make a script, and first of all I said what editable does is allows you to make parameterize it. So basically to make instance parameters, so it can say, I don't have to put it in the code. I can say put how fast you want it to play as something you can set inside of the editor, and that's what it does. Set a variable called blend in time, blend out. So I put all the things associated with that I could think of for animations that are available in their animation controller. I also put the names of the triggers that you saw there. The key ones here, some new ones, is NPC instance, which is one that I added to it, and I'll show you how I use that in here. So that says which NPC character is this, and NPC rotation angle, and that's basically how do I want, which direction do I want them to face. So let me talk about that for a minute here. So if we look at those, we're looking at my NPC character 1, which was, or I'm looking at 2 in this case, so we'll look at NPC character 1 again, and we look at them. One of the things I want to show first of all is if you click on them, even though you see them facing, right, and red is the way it's facing. If I click on the second one here, even though I rotated it in the game still thinks it's pointing to the left. So the same thing with here. It doesn't matter how I rotate them in the editor. It's default, and I can't change this. And it's kind of a lack of a feature or a bug, whatever you're going to say. This is still on beta, this part of it, the NPC character definition. So even though I rotate it in the editor, the game thinks they're all pointing to the left. So if I apply an animation, it doesn't apply like we saw in the video. It doesn't apply it like I showed it, or like you saw a minute ago, where they're all facing each other and they're looking like they're dancing in the right positions. They'd all face to the left, and which isn't right. But I found a way around that, and I'll tell you how I did that. The thing I did is I passed in a parameter and then applied it in code. So basically, I tell it in the code that I want NPC 2 to face 180 degrees. Even though I say in the editor, do this, it ignores it. So that's just something I'll show here. So I passed 2 major parameters in, and one of them is the rotation I want it to go. And the other C is something NPC instance. Let me talk about that as well. So for each of these, even though this is NPC 2, right? The program doesn't know it's NPC 2. It doesn't know the character name or which one you're talking about. So I have to pass in a parameter to make it unique to the code, and how I do that is via an instance variable. And I'll show those down here in a second. They're down here. I said use that program, NPC dancers, use this script, and one of the parameters you saw in was instance, and so I pass in the number 2, so I know this is character 2. Here, if I press, I just clicked the first avatar, it said 1, and if I clicked on this one, I passed in the number 10. So I set these so I know which unique ones they are. So if I look at NPC 1 again, the other thing I pass in is a rotation, and as you saw, remember here, you saw the rotation was 0. Here I said, well, I want this character to face that character, so I said do 180. But like I said before, it's if I didn't do something, it would just face to the left. So I pass in, it's 180 degrees. So basically, I positioned them here so I'd know what would look natural in the editor, and then but I still had to pass the value via a parameter of 180. So we'll go look and see kind of how it does that. So I've got all those in there, and so what I do here is, first thing is that the reason I have to pass an NPC instance is you can't back here, you can't put a parameter for the animation sequence you want to use. It's not available as something you can parameterize. So in order to do that, if I want this one to dance something different than this dance, what I've got to do is in my code, I identified all 30 dances I wanted to use. And so up here, I've got all animations, and these are animations. Basically, this is it's called an asset library. But anyway, basically, it you point to in your game. You've got in this folder. You've got these animation assets. So I point to all. I have 30 different dances for the they have different avatars. Now, which dance they use, I do via this. I say, hey, pass in. Remember that I said, I identified the NPC instance. So I'm saying instance 10 down here. Let's say, for example, I want you to use dance 10. So that means for that instant, the avatar that I've identified as 10, it applies a house dancing instance. So that's how that I had to put that NPC instance as a variable because I couldn't pass a variable of the animation sequence. I only can do that in the code. So anyway, that's it. So it gets the NPC dancer. So here's how the basic code working. It says the game works like it subscribes to a couple of events. It subscribes to the fact that somebody does somebody step on trigger 1 or trigger 2. But I go ahead and I say play dance 1 to start with. So I don't want to have the avatars all just stand there idle. So I say basically this is the same thing. If you step on play dance 1, it calls this code. It would call the really play dance or really play dance 2. So or play dance 1. So what's really happening here is as I just call the code to start with. So basically the game starts and it executes this code that also will get executed if I stepped on the trigger 1. So I just didn't want to have the avatar sitting idle. So that's why this 2 lines of code are here to say, hey, start it. Here's the key to the code, and each dance, and I only got 2 dance triggers in here, repeat this code basically. So play dance 1 looks like play dance. That method looks like that method, except I change the dances that I'm going to go use. I change. I stop the old dance and start the new dance is what this code does. So the first thing I do in this piece of code in this method is, so the first dance is being triggered. I set the current dance I sent the current dance to play to next dance. Remember next dance? Next dance is here. So if I was player 10, it said set next dance to dance 10, which was the house dance. So basically this is how it assigns each avatar a different, or each NPC a different dance. So it said get the avatar, bum, 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 bum. Then go ahead and remember I was saying that if I was just to apply a dance, what happened is they all dance in the same direction, even though in the editor I said, don't let them do that. I mean, I want them, even in the editor I'd switch the way they were facing. It didn't matter because it ignored it. So what I've done here is I said, get the location of the current avatar, that this code is running on top of. This code runs on top of each avatar. I mean, maybe that's obvious, but so get the where they are, their position, get their current rotation, which way are they facing, and in this case they're all facing to the left, default. I can't change it even though I put it in the editor to change it. It ignores it. But then I say, hey, let's change the rotation. And how I change rotation is I say, go get the rotation angle, which I passed in as a parameter. If you remember that, I passed in the rotation angle. So I said 180 degrees. Go get the rotation angle and rotate it. So apply the rotation, and this is just converting to radians from an angle, just because people are used to everybody's used to angles and not radians. So I set the rotation using this, converting the rotation angle that I put in as a parameter. I'm passing it and turning it to a radian, and then teleport. And so what teleport does is take the character and teleport. And so I teleport to the location, which is, the location in the editor, so it doesn't really move it anywhere. And change the rotation from what, all facing to the left to the rotation, the rotation that I've identified and passed in as a parameter. That took a lot of time to figure out. These 4 lines of code took me a couple of days to figure out how to get that to work, or how to, first of all, the fact that I had to do it that I didn't know, and then how to do that. Then I say, I go through a loop. So I say basically loop the animation. So I say animation instance for this avatar. There's a controller associated with every, this instance of the NPC. So NPC 10. Play it with the current dance. Remember, the current dance was, it would be the house dance in this case. Play the current dance, and then these are all those parameters I could have passed in as well. I could have changed how fast it played, how long it took it, how much time I gave it to blend in and blend out of the idle animation or whatever the previous dance animation was, and so on. So those are the parameters to control the animation. And then I'm using something called the wait result. So that basically says, hey, instance is running, wait until it finishes playing that animation. So let's say I have an animation, house dance, that lasts 22 seconds. So it'll say, wait till it's finished playing that, and after it's finished playing that, go look at it, and go look at the result of that. And it can pass back 3 results. It can pass back it completed, which in case, since I used a wait, it should have completed, or it was interrupted or error. So, and I don't handle those right now because it always works and it always completes. Then I say, hey, go see if trigger 2 has been implemented. And if trigger 2 has been implemented, I play trigger 2. So basically what happens is I say, if I've let's say stuck on trigger 1 and they're all running, or in this case this is just how the game started, this would not be true, it would be false. It'd say, well, no, they haven't stepped on, the avatar has not stepped on, the player has not stepped on trigger 2 yet. And so this if statement would be false, and that means it would not do these statements in here, so it would just go down here and loop. So basically it would play the house dance. After 22 seconds, it would come back here, since I haven't stepped on any other trigger to trigger a different dance, and it run the house dance from the 22 seconds, and so on, until the player stepped on trigger dance 2, the second trigger, which was the YMCA dance, and then it says, oh, if that's true, they've stepped on it, what I want you to do is, run a method, which is basically the same version of this method, looks just like this, but have it run the YMCA dance. And break says, oh, also, you don't want to loop this dance because I've selected a new dance, so basically break this loop, which breaks that original dance you were doing, the unique dances with dance 1, and stops this method from running. So basically it says, stop the method from running, but you've already called dance 2. So then dance 2 is running, and so on. And dance 2 does the same thing to see, hey, have they stepped on dance pad 1? And if they stepped on dance pad 1, it would stop them all doing YMCA dance, and they'd go back to the original dances they were doing. So that's how all that works. And so this is just dancing and stuff, but you could write stuff like this to control very complex game story things that we're listening to something besides dance triggers. Let's listen to any event being thrown by anything, whether it be a menu, whether it be mutator zones, whether it be any of the ways that you could an event's being or can be thrown inside of the game. You can be listening for that to change the animations and the positions of the characters and so on. So this is how that all works, and that's a long thing, but so you can kind of I did this again to give you an idea. If we decide to do animations inside of a game or that we're working on, kind of gives you an idea of how under the covers they're being that can be applied and controlled via code.